Hello again, everybody. Here's the first video in the series for making intermediate trees out of the Never Rust Tipper Tie aluminum wire. This is my intermediate size here. You can look for that where they sell cattle supplies or ranching supplies. It's electric fence wire. Out of all the wires I've tried in the aluminum variety, this stuff seems to be the best. Unfortunately, it comes on a roll and it's not very clean when you get it. Look for the shiniest, cleanest wire you can when you go buy this stuff, and only buy the clean rolls. You know, go back a month later, check the inventory again, because cleaning it is kind of a pain. So we'll set that down. And what you see here are the basic tools I use for making these trees. This one right here is real important. This is a Husky self-adjusting channel locks. I believe I got this one at Sears. There's many different types of self-adjusting pliers out there. This is my favorite. You guys can try whatever, you know, if you're used to using something else. I usually grind off a little bit of the teeth on the inside here if they're real sharp, so that it doesn't chew stuff up. But that's not 100% necessary. Sometimes they're not very sharp when you get them. We have a flat pliers, and that comes in handy for tightening up twists of 2 strands, and comes handy for all kinds of other stuff. Then we have a bent nose pliers, another necessity as far as I'm concerned. And on these bent nose pliers, I grind all the teeth off on those because I don't want it marring up the wire. So I take usually a diamond file and file them until they're rounded, no sharp edges, because you don't want to be putting any type of kind of a crease into the wire, because it'll tend to break there. And then you have a side cutters, also known as a dikes, and I modify my side cutters so that the blades are real thin, and they cut a nice square end of the wire, and the smaller they are, the tighter places you can snip a wire, which comes in handy. And then I got a needle nose pliers that I use for making leaves for many years that has been modified, filing it down. And I made an awful lot of leaves with this plier. I wrap the plastic on there because it wears off rather than my skin. I made a lot of leaves with that particular pliers there. So that's one way to make leaves. Another way to make leaves that I've came up with is, boy, that's going to be hard to see. That is a high carbon steel flat tip bit for a screwdriver. The prongs there are about 1 millimeter. I make these per the size of the wire I'm making leaves from. This one's actually for the 1.8 millimeter wire, which I use for real big trees. But basically, this one's it's hard to see. That one's a little too loose. You gotta kind of custom size these for making leaves. It's tricky. But once again, a diamond file, because you don't want to heat up the metal very much when you're making one of these, because it changes the hardness of it, and you'll tend to break the tips off then. And that can also go into, because sometimes I like doing the short bits, because sometimes you need to get into there in real tight spaces and actually just use the bit with your fingers to twist up leaves sometimes. But it can also go into a magnetic bit holder, or if you want a little more torque, you're making an awful lot of leaves that day, your wrist is sore, you can put it in a handle. Okay, here's my wire holding jig. This is basically a pot scraper made out of nylon. These jigs don't last forever. You twist so many trees out of them, they get soft. but you'll notice the holes, you got to leave enough space between the holes so that your jig doesn't fall apart on you. And you know, I recommend, if you're going to go with the aluminum and you want to start making trees, try and keep your strands probably under a 50 count at first. The fewer strands, the less complicated it is and the easier it is to twist it. But basically what I do is I clean and straighten my wire on a wire lathe. It's very important to start with straight wire. And you just load up your jig like so. And this piece of wire I'm using here is probably about 36 inches long. And I usually leave some out the bottom for the roots. Remember, the wire is always going to shrink when you twist it up. You always want to leave more wire than you need. So for this 36-inch chunk of wire here, the most I can probably get out of here is 5, 6, 7-inch tree. The wire shrinks, and it's horrible when you run out of wire when you're making leaves. You won't be happy. And then I also have some, this is food grade stretch wrap, you know, like you use to save your leftovers. And I cut it down from the big roll because I need itty bitty rolls. And I'll shoot another video on how to make a roll of this stuff. It's pretty tricky. But you can also use cloth and wrap it real tight around your trunk, and then maybe use a piece of tape to keep the cloth from slipping. But I really like this stuff, and we'll show you how to use all this later. And then I have some nylon strapping, which I use to protect the trunk and the main branches when I'm twisting them up with that big channel locks. I put a lot of force on there, and if you gouge the wire, it tends to snap. So this is just thin nylon strapping. You can tell it's been used. It's got a little bit of a curl to it. You'll need this is just a regular old cheap scalpel. I use that to cut the plastic wrapping off when I'm done with it. And it also comes in handy to have a pick for untangling wire and you know, trying to get the one strand out of the bunch that you want to grab from the inside. And this one is also a leaf twister for really, there you can see it, for my smallest trees out of the copper wire. Each one of those prongs is, I think, under a millimeter. And like I showed you the pot scraper that you can use for loading up the jig before, that's nylon. Another thing that works good is just nylon cutting board. You can drill holes in it. You want your holes, when you drill the holes in the cutting board, you want to be able to have it flow in there pretty easily, because otherwise you'll have a problem pulling your tree out to make the roots. And like this one here is sized for this wire. So it's just got a little bit of wiggle there before it grabs on the wire. So if your holes are too big, it's a pain in the butt. If they're too small, it's a pain in the butt. So you gotta have the Little Red Riding Hood. Oh no, that's the other one. I don't know my nursery rhymes, but you gotta have just the right size. So that's the tools you need to get started. Next one will be loading up this jig here, and we're going to take you all the way through a tree. Fun, fun, fun. Bye.